when she's buying bulk or multiple of them. But I don't do the buying. So I'd have to ask her that.
Interesting. Well, that's really interesting. So what are your favorite things to have? So we were talking downstairs about fabric and that you like the fabric. So tell me more about your love of fabric and how that influences what you do with quilting.
Well, my Quilting Guild calls it Gigi fabric because they think that I put things together that are just absolutely like, oh, I can't even believe you put that stuff together. And that's what I love to do. And I really don't care if anybody else likes it. I like the way it always turns out. I'll go to different fabric stores and I'll pick up, a yard here and a yard there. Then when I get home, I'm like, oh, all these go together. And I'll just put it together.
You like the putting together.
I like the putting together. I like bigger pieces so that the fabric is the star of the show as opposed to the quilt pattern itself. Some quilt patterns are so intricate and they're beautiful, but the pieces are so small that you're really just getting a color sense or a value sense as opposed to getting like, this is the pretty fabric. Right. And I like the pretty fabric.
Right.
So I do bigger pieces so you can see.
And do you do olive? Do you also quilt? Do you just send them out?
I do. I have. I'm not good at it. So I have done it, but it's not, and I've taken classes on free motion quilting and I've done online classes free motion quilting and I'm just not good at it yet. But I'm still practicing.
Yeah, I'm sort of in this, I don't know if everybody can get good at it. So I'm not, my penmanship is terrible. I'm not an artist and I'm really determined to see if I devote the time.
Right.
Can you get good at it? Or is it just like, no, you can't.
Like I can't paint.
I don't know yet.
Right. I can't. Right? Or I can paint. I can't draw.
Yeah.
So can I teach myself that?
We're gonna hold on just a second. We're gonna pause for just a second. Okay, so we're back. Okay, so do you send what? So once you finish the top, where do you send it to? What do you do?
There's a couple of people in town that do quilting at their homes with long arm machines. My husband is fascinated with long arm machines.
Me too.
Fascinated. I love them. I had a friend in town who had one and she would let us go and use hers. We'd pay her for the time to use it. And I loved it. But they're so darn expensive. And they take up so much room that it would be,
right.
And there's some girls in my quilt guild who have them. Yeah. And they just said, I don't need a dining room table. I need a quilt. And so they have them in their dining rooms. And they do the most beautiful work. And it's fascinating to me. But I've only done, of my own, I've done one on a long arm and loved it. And then the rest I've done on my domestic machine, just regular machine.
Interesting. So, you also had a business for a while, didn't you? Tell us a little bit about owning a business and tell us a little bit more about what the business was.
The business was called So Fabulous. And my business partner and I started it as a place for people to come, learn how to sew. No, we don't do your mending. We will teach you how to mend,
right.
kind of thing. And it seemed to us as if there was a resurgence of a demographic of, I say kids because I'm old, but kids, middle ages between, 11 to 45 who really wanted to learn how to sew and they missed the boat. By the end of the 70s, 80s, all home ec, all sewing was taken out of the schools and all the rage was having computers in the classrooms. No more shop, no more hands-on work. And I was a big proponent of that not happening. I felt like there's always going to be kids in our society and adults who learn by doing and wanting to make things, and that's what they want to do for a living. And so we were excited to get back into teaching people how to do this for themselves, and that it was hard. It was hard. It was hard because when people wanted to come and sew after work or on the weekends was when we wanted, to be with our families or, that. So it was hard to find times that were good for people to be able to come and do it. That was a difficult issue. It's a hard way to make a living. It's better, if you're not selling goods, you're only selling services, and we had a place and we were paying rent. it was lovely to have a spot where you had 8 machines set up and there was room to cut out, but you're paying rent, and it takes a lot of sewing classes to pay the rent.
A lot.
So, because you can't charge that much for sewing classes. And so we after 3 years, we realized this is silly. We can go do this in people's homes, or they can come to our home. So we did it more in terms of, that. And so my business partner, she still does it a lot more than I do, because obviously I'm working at the other store now, but she does it through her home. And then in the summertime, she goes to a local school because school is out, and she uses their parish hall to teach the summer camp. And so that worked out really well. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about Uptown Needleworks.
Uptown Needleworks has a lot going on. It has fabrics, and
it's on Magazine.
And
it's right next to the bead shop, which I think is really awesome, because it makes it kind of a crafty moment.
It does. And next to the bakery, don't forget.
And next to the bakery, which is really good.
It's a crafty, yummy moment.
Right, exactly. So every time we go, I'm always like, okay, well, I get to go to the bakery first.
Well, and that's what we start each class with. Okay, so during break in a few minutes, y'all can go next door and get coffee and a little something to eat, and their food is just unbelievably delicious. But Emma is one of these people that she is so creative. Her brain never stops thinking of the next thing. What can I do next? What can I do next? And my favorite is, she just came up with a pattern. She comes up with her own patterns. She came up with a pattern for a little house that looks like a little shotgun. It's all over the city. Mm-hmm. And free motion quilting all over the little panels on the side. But the house opens and closes, so you can put like a gift card inside, or a treasure for a little kid, and it can be a gift box. And then she came up with a pattern for a chicken, an adorable chicken, or maybe it's a rooster, but whatever it might be, it's a chicken or a rooster. I'm not sure if it has a gobbler. Does that make it a rooster? I think it has a gobbler. So anyway, she came up with her own pattern for that. And somebody came in and was oohing and ahhing, and I said, I love chickens and I love houses, but I would never come up with the idea to do this. She made some prayer flags that had hand stitching and hand embroidery all over.
What's a prayer flag?
Her prayer flags are made out of felt, and it probably has about 6 10-inch square, not even 10-inch, probably 8-inch squares across it, attached by lace or attached by whatever you want. And then you, based on the person you're giving it to or making it for, you put things that are important to them. So it might be, if it's a couple for a shower, they're getting married, you put the couple in the middle, and then things that are important to them, you embroider around it. And on the back, you have little pockets to put little thoughts and prayers, in the back to give to them. It could be for baptism or a christening for a baby, and maybe things you wish for them. You just embroider, and then you hang it on the mantle, or you hang it in the baby's room, and they come out. Well, hers come out beautiful. I haven't made one yet, but hers are absolutely beautiful. And so we have quilting fabrics. But we also do clothing.
You do everything. It's it's a small shop.
It's a small shop.
And it's got everything in it.
She does encaustic. I don't have my sister's encaustic, but it's downstairs. I'll show you. Encaustic is where you do the waxing over the color painting, and they do fabric dyeing. She's got some beautiful dyed fabrics right now, teaching people how to do. The G's Bend quilt is coming up. That class is coming up. So she hand dyes her fabrics to put in her G's Bend quilts.
Tell if people are listening, what is G's Bend?
G's Bend is a group of women who made quilts out of necessity, years and years, hundreds of years ago, and collected them. And it would just be that you'd hand it down, and this is what they used to cover the window to keep it warm inside, or even cover the floor. And I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s, someone was driving by and saw them hanging on the line, and they are truly pieces of art. They look like they should be hanging in a museum, and so that's what they did. They took them, put them in a museum, and it went off like gangbusters. People were just mesmerized by how they look like modern quilts, even though it was just here's a piece of a jean, and here's a piece of a shirt. Let me just keep adding to this. And so Emma went and took a class with the ladies of G's Bend, and has learned a technique. It almost looks like crazy quilting, because no pieces are the same, and you just keep adding to this kind of crazy quilt looking thing. and make squares that you then turn into a quilt. And she'll be teaching that class coming up to teach the technique. It's a way of thinking. It's not even, you don't measure anything. You just, what do you have? A piece of scrap. Here, put that in there.
Sounds awesome.
And it's a lot of different textures, too. Like I said, it can be jeans with canvas, with cotton, with polyester, whatever happens to be available.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
So, is there other things that you'd like to chat about? So, when do you sew? Do you sew at a particular time, or? No. It's I sew when I can. I would spend, if I could treat it like a job, I would come up here in the morning at 9, and I would not come out until 5, and I would stay up here, and I would just sew. My husband is the most supportive person in the world, and loves, getting things and helping, and he's also kind of a science guy. So when I get something new, he reads the manual, and he's like, "Oh, you can do this, and you can do that, and this is how." So I have this extra help support system to help me, because I'm not a manual reader. I just start doing it, and then I'm like, "Wow, I wonder if I could do this," and then I read the manual. So he does. But I'm looking at my AccuQuilt, just like, I would spend a whole day just cutting stuff out to applique and then having it all ready and stored up, ready to go. But again, life is not like that. Yeah. And grandchildren get sick, and, people need things other than me sewing. So, do you do things by project, or do you like having a big stash, or sort of how do you?
Well, I kind of have a stash.
Yeah.
I kind of have a stash. I do have that pile over there. That's all stacked up in order of things that need to happen. And I had on the table when you came in that the Christmas pillowcases for my granddaughters have to happen because Christmas is coming. So that was today. I'm going to get those knocked out today because I need to get their names on them, because I like to embroider their names on them. Then I have a couple of orders that I've got to fill for some European pillows and things like that. So I have people, I do that kind of stuff too. I don't take all jobs, but when somebody calls me and says, "Hey, can you make these pillows?" If I have time, I say yes. Well, this poor lady asked me, and at the time I had time, but it's been 2 weeks now, so I need to get those done. I'm trying to think what else. But free time sewing, like let's sit down and make a quilt. I go to retreat twice a year.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Oh, it's just so lovely. And I try to go twice a year. I don't always make it. But in January and in August, we go from Monday through Thursday. And it sounds silly, but it is the most fun thing. We have this giant room all set up. We each get an 8-foot table.
Where do you go?
It's outside of St. Francisville.
Uh-huh.
And all you do is sew. And you can sew whatever you want. One time I spent the whole time making aprons for a restaurant here in town because I had to have that finished. Mm-hmm. But it was loads more fun making aprons there with all of my friends than sitting up in this room just doing it all by myself. But we have cutting stations set up, and we have ironing stations set up, and everybody works on different things. And you walk around the room and you get inspired. I get so inspired when I'm with these ladies. And just watching what they can do and how they do it. And we're all so different. Some people do, heavy, dark things, and it looks beautiful. And others do these bright, modern quilts, and it's beautiful. And some people are making bags, and some people are making... and there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to learn. So
do you think retreat and gathering is an important part of quilting community?
I do. I think with YouTube and with the internet, some people might feel like, I can do this by myself. Mm-hmm. But when you're with people who do this and do it so much, I don't want to say so much better, because I can do some things that I like what I do. But so they do things so much better. And I may never make the same kind of quilt they do, but there's something inspirational about being around people that can do things differently than you do, but yet still the same type of thing.
Yeah, it seems to like it almost makes you better by just being with them.
Yes.
I don't know why that is, right?
Right. And then you see things that, like maybe those rulers that we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah.
I saw that on Facebook, but if I bring that to Quilt Retreat and show them, if they've never seen it, or they saw it, but they were like, I don't want to make the jump, and I don't want to buy them, and I go in there and I do a demo, it's so much fun to see
It's really
a
cool.
new tool.
Now, are the people that you're going to retreat with the same that people that